The biggest grossing franchise in the history of Universal Pictures is the Fast and Furious saga, which left us on tenterhooks after the Oscar-winning, after the hugely acclaimed, after Fast X. Now we learn that Universal, a couple of years on, still seems no close to making Fast X. So I've brought in Ryan Lambie, and we're going to try and find out just what's happening. So, Ryan, you take it.
Hello.
I mean, tell us the latest on the non-existent Fast X Part 2 or Fast and Furious 11, whichever you want to call it.
Yeah, so without spoiling things, Fast X ended on a very fiery cliffhanger, which implied that they were quite confident about continuing the story pretty quickly. That was in 2023. We're now 2 years and counting on from the release of that film, and they've not filmed a single frame of the follow-up, which at one stage I think was called Fast X Part 2. That's what, in my head, that's still what it's called. They might call it Fast and Furious 11. They might call it a Kettering Drift. I'm not sure. But yeah, the part of the problem was that Fast X cost an immense amount of money, partly because of the pandemic. They're filming it in 2020. There was delays.
So, I mean, where did Fast X leave us? It's probably worth considering that.
Well, so it set up Jason Momoa as the villain, and there was a big dramatic ending. I can't remember, how did it even end? There was a big explosion, and there was a dam, and there was a lot of cars, and yeah, it sort of hinted that some characters might be dead, but this is the Fast and Furious franchise, and nobody seems to say dead for long. We'll get back to that.
My take from Fast X was it had a great villain, and I can remember next to nothing else about it. Now you're a very learned and schooled man on the Fast and Furious films. I kind of drift in and out of them a little bit.
Tokyo drift in and out of them.
Very, very good. Very, very good. But it was that summer where, was it 2 or 3 films ended on cliffhangers that have thus far been unresolved? There was Spider-Verse, I think, was the same year, and we're still waiting for part 2 of that as well. But it was with Fast X that they were going. The plan was to go pretty much straight into another film until it cost such an enormous amount of money.
Yeah, I think the budget, the rumored budget was something like 300 million, possibly more.
Yeah.
So the rumor now is that the reason it's been taking so long is that Universal's digging its heels in over the budget, and that the producers have got a script now that they think they can make for 250 million, and Universal have gone back and said, no, we need to make this for 200 million.
Which
I think
is
there's
still
more
insane
going on than
amounts
that.
of money, isn't it?
It's crazy money, especially when you consider where this franchise started in 2001 as like a kind of mid-budget little movie aimed at teenagers and early 20-somethings who are into cars, and it was about car racing. It was based on a magazine article, and then obviously over time it kind of morphed into this huge heist action thriller saga. It'd be like if Saturday Night Fever started off as it did, which was also based on a magazine article, and then gradually morphed into John Travolta doing, like, say if Broken Arrow was part of the staying.
Now we're talking. All right.
Do you see what I mean? The Saturday Night Fever franchise, like Saturday Night Fever 6, Broken Arrow. That's how weird this franchise is when you actually start digging into it. So yeah, it's gotten bigger and bigger and more overblown. I think to be honest, it's not just the money. I think it's the egos and the stars.
Yes.
Vin Diesel is a bit of a loose cannon and keeps putting things on his social media about bringing back Brian O'Connor, who was obviously played by the late, much missed Paul Walker. And as much as everyone misses Paul Walker and Brian in the franchise, I really don't think we need to see a Peter Cushing in Rogue One situation.
Oof.
You know, I think it was Fast 7, wasn't it? They gave him the big send off, and I thought that was, that was quite tastefully done.
And that was the commercial high point of the saga as well, wasn't it?
It
Fast
was
7.
Yeah,
$1.5 billion.
But that was big in China. That was the thing. I think it made something like 300
Yeah.
million in China, and that's one big market that Universal doesn't have anymore. There's a general thing in Hollywood, isn't there? You know, it's better than me that movies aren't making over 1 billion anymore. Not
Yeah.
so much.
Yeah. There's
There's
what
700 million is the new billion. I think was a line I saw in the Hollywood Reporter.
and the problem there is the cost of these films, as you've said, is just rocketing. So I've got rough budgets for where they've gone, and the Fast and the Furious back in 2001 cost less than $40 million to make. And they didn't cross a hundred million production budget till Fast Five. It was The Fate of the Furious, the eighth one, that cost $250 million. But then that came off the back of the film before making $1.5 billion. You look at the last three films in this saga, and the most commercially successful of the last three has been the Hobbs & Shaw spin-off in 2019. It cost 200,000 to make, grossed 760 million worldwide. F9, the Fast Saga, I think that's what they called it in the end, cost around the same as Hobbs and Shaw, made slightly less money. And then the damning thing with Fast X is, I mean, that production budget is insane. And COVID, of course, as you said, played its part. But over $300 million to make a car chase film that grossed 714. That's the lowest return for any in the series since Fast and Furious. Well, no, Fast Five, we're back to that. And it commercially, in its current guise, it feels like a franchise in decline. But I wonder if the key phrase there is in its current guise. I wonder if Universal wouldn't mind, how do I politely put it, shedding itself of Vin Diesel and his Twitter feuds and things of that
Something
ilk.
happened on Fast X, didn't it? I spoke to Louis Leterrier, who took over from Justin Lin on that film, and he talked about when he flew in to make the film. I think it was in London where they were shooting at the time, and he came in, and he basically interviewed every major actor in the film. So not just Vin Diesel, also Michelle Rodriguez and Dwayne Johnson and whoever else, and
Everyone.
asked them what they thought of the script, and wanted their input into their characters and what should happen. And I do wonder whether Universal just thought, yeah, this is too much like hard work. I mean, it's interesting that there were rumours after Fast X came out that Jason Momoa wouldn't be coming back for part two as the villain, which is just a bizarre situation, considering how much of the film sets him up as this ultimate bad guy, whose story would be paid off in the sequel. Like, why would you not bring back Jason Momoa? It feels like there are behind the scenes stories on this film that haven't come out. I mean, we know about Vin Diesel's kind of ongoing off again feud with Dwayne Johnson, and all the stories about Jason Statham and Vin Diesel and Dwayne Johnson needing to have the same number of punches or something like that,
Oh God,
and
yeah.
not being the last one to fall down in a fight.
Written in their contracts how many times they're
Mm.
allowed to be hit or something. Yeah.
Mm. But
I,
this is a massive, massive franchise, even outside the movie. So you've got, Universal have got theme park rides. There's Hot Wheels toys. There's video games.
yeah.
I'm sure there's lots of other merch. I'm
It's
not
their
thinking
biggest
of.
franchise.
So
It's
it's not. There's no way they're going to just stop at Fast 11. I think there's rumours that they want to maybe reboot it as a TV show, or somehow bring it back to basics. Back to sort of street racing in Los Angeles. But
almost like the B movie that it sort of started out as. Just go back to cars on a road as opposed to cars in space. That's the bit that where I was like on the verge of checking out.
Well, one of the
That was the
producers said
ninth
they
film,
kind of
wasn't it?
regretted. Yeah,
I'm
they
not
regretted
surprised they regret.
sending into space.
I mean, that to me is that when a franchise needs a boss, that someone at the chain somewhere must have looked at that and just thought no, but for some reason wouldn't stop it. I wonder about the star power of Vin Diesel, and I've got no evidence outside of speculation on this. That it's telling to me that every major announcement about the last film, was made by Vin Diesel. It wasn't a universal press release. It's Vin Diesel will announce it on his socials. And the projection is that Vin Diesel is the controller, the parent of the franchise. But I'm not actually sure he's got equity in it. Whereas on franchises like Riddick, for instance, I think he may have a stake in those. He may have negotiated a stake. But Fast and Furious, like, it grew without him, really. And then he came back to it and obviously has had a major part in it rocket fueling into what it is now. But I don't think he's a crucial cog in it anymore. And I wonder if A, Vin Diesel recognises that, and B, Universal recognises that.
Yeah, I mean, there's talk of this Fast X Part 2 being kind of like the final bow for this sort of generation of actors anyway. Like I said, they've been doing it. The film was originally supposed to come out in 2026 as for the 25th anniversary of the franchise, and obviously it's not going to make that now. Yeah, it should have. Yeah, I mean, it was going to be tight as it was, but it clearly just wasn't going to happen. And so it was going to be the kind of end of the road for Vin Diesel's character.
Very good.
Dominic Toretto and so presumably
barbecue.
and bottles of Corona.
Yes.
So I think a reboot has always been on the cards in some respects, but would Vin Diesel willingly let go? Like, he'd probably try and write himself back in as a mentor character in any rebooted series.
Because he's trying to bring the Last Witch Hunter back now, isn't he? I mean, Vin Diesel's upcoming projects are trying to get another Riddick film going. He's trying to get another Last Witch Hunter. There's another franchise he's trying to get.
That's the one that baffles me. It's The Last Witch Hunter. It's like the film that no one remembers, that even he didn't seem to massively like when he was on the press tour for that.
Well, I'd like him to go back and try something like Sidney Lumet's Find Me Guilty or something, because there's a really good actor in Vin Diesel, but the movie star seems to have like completely taken over. And on the flip side, like, there's pictures of him wheeling Michael Caine around, pop up on social media, which go against like this image of the big brash arsehole movie star. That he's like still mates with Michael Caine and they go out for a drink and stuff like that. But still, I can't lose the point you made a while ago. Ego, is ego the biggest enemy in the film?
Yeah, in Fast and Furious.
Just in this whole franchise, is it ego dragging it down? Because the success of Hobbs and Shaw didn't go down well with certain members of the Fast and Furious cast who weren't involved in Hobbs and Shaw. I'm not sure that helped. If that's
because that was where the box office started to slide. I do wonder, as successful as that film was, whether people were kind of like, I'm slightly done with this, because that was quite a ramshackle film, Hobbs and Shaw. It was enjoyable enough, but it sort of felt like, okay, I think we've got this formula a bit too down now. We need to do something else. Like what seemed fresh in Fast 5, where it was kind of this kind of knowingly ridiculous heist, almost like Ocean's 11 with petrol.
And a massive safe.
And a huge safe, and it was a great image. And I think it's a bit like Terminator 2. Ever since then, the franchise has almost been haunted by Fast 5, and it's tried to constantly relive the glory of Fast 5. I mean, Fast X basically tries to retcon Fast 5 so that Jason Momoa was there all along and was haunted by the events of Fast 5.
Oh, God. Now it comes back to me. I did facepalm at that bit,
And they spent a lot of money doing that as well, didn't they? Like, recreating all those scenes and digitally putting in a Jason Momoa, a young Jason Momoa, and all that kind of stuff. It almost feels like it needs to change genre again. I feel like, as much as I enjoy the franchise and all its ridiculousness, the going to the moon thing was the point where it kind of became too ridiculous. I think we said at the time, it's like it's its own Moonraker moment. And once James Bond's gone into space, and I mean, to be fair, Roger Moore made at least another 2 more James Bond. Is it 3 more James Bond movies after Moonraker? But even so, the franchise was past its best. But I don't think any. I
Well,
think
it shat.
Octopussy is anyone's
It,
favourite Bond movie.
Octopussy is no, in fact, I did put on social media once a comment that wasn't pro Octopussy, and I did get pushback. So I would imagine that someone
It
out
does
there,
have its fans. I was
it
surprised by
does,
this.
it does, and
Yeah.
Octopussy is a favoured James Bond film of some people other than myself. The bit with the, I mean, not to bang on about it, the bit with the moonshot, as it were, was the bit where the internal logic just went. It's just like, because it's always been heightened. It's always been ridiculous. I don't actually believe someone could drag a safe by a couple of cars around Brazil and not kill loads of people. But I bought it within the internal logic of the saga and of that particular film. The moon thing is just like it's like a bit where you're at, I don't know, you're at a funeral and you want to tell a dirty joke and you shouldn't tell the joke and you tell the joke. It's one of my worst analogies, but it's just like it's just the wrong thing in the wrong place at the wrong time. They could make a space film in under the banner of Fast and Furious, but it can't have those characters and it can't be those people. Otherwise, it just ceases to make any kind of internal sense. I've gone down a weird rabbit hole of this space thing, but it just felt a turning point as I was watching it.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. It's
I
yeah.
winced.
I do wonder if it's part of that sort of thing where everyone has an idea and it gets thrown into the script. Maybe it's part of that they're all just kind of sitting around spitballing. Like maybe it's about time we went into space. But yeah, it does feel like a franchise that needs saving from itself a little bit.
So what's the path forward then? Would you finish Fast X if let's make you head of Universal for a minute. You've got the biggest saga. You've got Vin Diesel continually like making points on social media to try and keep the fires burning. What would you do with Fast X Part 2? Would you make it, or would you just abandon it and try and just go somewhere else?
I think that you have to, at least in some way, tie off what happened at the end of Fast X Part 2. As little as I could remember of it,
Yeah.
embarrassingly, you need to have a payoff for that. So you need to give Jason Momoa lots and lots of money to at least do a cameo and just tie it off. And you need to not just let Paul Walker rest in peace.
Yeah.
Don't digitally bring back Paul Walker.
Don't do that.
By all means, introduce a new younger cast of characters, however you want.
Yeah.
Have one or two of the existing members who don't cause too much trouble stay on as kind of as
So basically,
mentor characters.
you want to do Alien 3. You want to do the first 10, 15 minutes of Alien 3.
Yeah. And yeah, because like I said, it's one of those weird things with the film industry now and capitalism in general that nothing can die.
Yeah.
I mean, Tron. Every 10 to 15 years, somebody decides it's a good idea to revive Tron, forgetting that it was never a big deal in the first place. So if even something like Tron can't just fade into history, and we come up with new things, we have to constantly go back to the past to revive things. Then Fast and Furious isn't going anywhere. It's just finding something to do with it that doesn't feel like a kind of regurgitation of things they've done before, but more ridiculously and more expensively.
Well, it is the international language of car chases as well. At a point where you're trying to make global movies, the fact that it's become so movie star driven, when actually it's car chases that are the bit that transcend the border. I think what they should do is they should set it on a cruise liner. They should just take inspiration from Speed 2 Cruise Control. That's the way forward, because I mean they'll spend a lot of money, but it will end this version of the story, and then they can go off and do their cheaper reboot. There is still talk of like a Hobbs and Shaw 2, but I presume that's kind of dead now. And then other spin-offs with other characters. My way forward will be just to walk away, give a really interesting young director $50 million and a shitload of cars and a big quarry, and just see what they can do with that. because the cost, however they do Fast and Furious X now, presumably the X2, X11, whatever we're calling it, presumably the contracts are written for the stars, because at the point they were negotiating Fast X, they would have gone into it with knowing with that ending it was going to be a two-parter. So presumably they're committed to giving all these people a ton of money. And you said right at the start, the cast list is like, I mean, it's not like character actors, is it? It's just like if there's a role in the background of it, it's like it's Brie Larson played it. No, up top you've got Dwayne Johnson, who took earned 88 million in salaries for 2 films in 2024. It's just like, even before they've shot a frame of this, even before they've got like a Fiat Punto off the back of the wagon, they're 150 million down just paying like the pre physical production costs of the film, I reckon. I just wonder if
Kurt Russell in a role that really anyone could have played. As much as I love Kurt Russell, it's kind of he was one of the biggest paid stars in Hollywood at one stage.
He was, and rightly so.
No, it's weird when you think back to Tokyo Drift, which was almost like a straight to DVD movie. And they shot that in Japan, in Tokyo, almost without any permits. They actually had a ringer director who they paid to spend a night in jail, because they wanted to shoot some scenes on city streets, without getting, and they obviously couldn't afford to have the real director go to prison. So they paid someone to be his stand-in and to get arrested, so they could just get these shots.
And did they go to prison?
Yeah, not for long, obviously, but they were apprehended and taken down the station for questioning, and probably spent the night in the slammer. And so we've gone from that, and no one was in. I think Vin Diesel turned up as just a little tease at the end, didn't he? But it was, none of the original actors from the second one were in it.
So here we go. So our way forward then is Fast and Furious Bridlington Drift, or something like that. That kind of take, almost, because Tokyo Drift was the film that they didn't reference for ages, because it was set so far in the future away from everything else. Almost became the running joke. It's just
that was itself a retcon. Like the Tokyo Drift was only said to be in the future later, so they could bring back I forget the actor's name now. Kang, the character's name, isn't it?
Yeah.
So it's all over the place. I think the one tonally, I think the one they should go back to tonally, I think, is the second one, Too Fast, Too Furious.
John Singleton directed.
Yeah, because it's almost there's street racing in it, but it's almost kind of like a buddy cop comedy. And there's kind of there's heist thriller elements in it, but it's not too stupidly overblown, not too stupidly expensive. It's almost a little bit, they almost want to do what they did in Casino Royale, where you just bring it back down to earth, literally, and make it with real cars again. Go on social media and bang on about how they didn't use any special effects when clearly they have, a la Top Gun Maverick, and make it, make it a little bit more grounded. It can still be a comedy. It can still have the knowing ridiculousness to it, but the kind of car chases and things in the most recent ones have just become so divorced from any kind of physical kinetic reality that I think the seventh one or the eighth one where the cars jumped between two buildings, two skyscrapers. Yeah. And it's kind of like, okay, this is fun, but there's only so much we can do with this. At some point, you just
whereas in like the recent James Bond film, they put him in the crappiest car that they could find, and it makes for a more interesting chase.
Yeah, that woodland chase in No Time to Die. I didn't, I didn't love the film, but that whole chase was really good.
It is really an interesting point that if you look at any movie saga that's had 11 films in it in the modern era, Fast and Furious might be the one that stands alone as the one that's never reinvented itself in that run.
Oh no, it has. Which part of the run though? because
Well,
it's
once you go past Tokyo Drift, it feels how beyond that. So if we go from like film 4, what was that, Fast and Furious, to Fast
Mhm.
X, has it done any reinvention in a run then of what, about 7 films, or has
like I
it
said,
done?
I think it's Fast Five. I think the problem was Fast Five. I think that
Yeah,
was the. It's interesting because that slaps you right in the middle. Because like so, the first one was this like the kind of neon coloured
yeah,
street racing film that was specifically about people racing around in Japanese cars illegally. That was the number one. There was a thriller element into it. It was basically a rip off of Point Break,
yeah,
but with cars instead of surfers. It was the exact same plot. I think even the director Rob Cohen said that on the DVD commentary. And the title was taken from a Roger Corman film. They actually gave Roger Corman a load of B-roll footage from the film in exchange for the rights to use that title. So that was the first one. The second one became like a kind of buddy thriller,
yeah,
comedy thriller. The third one was about street racing in Tokyo. And then the fourth one was sort of like the dry run for five, in that it brought all the
yeah,
cast back, and it was all very kind of slightly self-congratulatory and like, yeah, we've got the gang back together. And there was like a big CGI chase through a mine
yeah,
in a mine. Remember that? It was almost like something out of Star Wars. Um, and then five was like the pure heist action thriller, massive guns, massive fights, big set pieces, huge budget. So
yeah.
yeah, I think so. Yeah, five was where it all. Well, they set the template and like, okay, this is what we're doing now, and we're just going to keep doing that with
Well,
variations on
they
the
sort
theme.
of they sort of set the template then in 4, but then they sharpened it, got it right in
Five was
5,
yeah,
and
five
then
was almost like the machine
6, 7,
tooled.
8, 9, 10, Hobbs and
Yeah,
Shaw,
so
and
so
it's
we
like,
so yeah, five movies and one spin-off, and they're all kind of broadly the same. They all kind of fiddle around with the retcon the timeline, like we said.
yeah, retcon.
Like it's weird how
The
free
modern curse of the movie storytelling, the retcon. But yeah,
Tokyo Drift went from being the one that everyone kind of shunned and didn't talk about too
yeah,
much. One of the most pivotal films in the entire franchise. It turns out Jason Statham was there, and he was the one that, it's kind of,
yeah.
yeah, quite odd how it all
So
that
so
became the hub.
so our conclusion then is they've got to find a way to make it the finale by hook or by crook, even if it's like pay Jason Momoa in to do a bit Alien 3 on him, and just wrap all of that up. And then after they've done this film, are we going for the low budget start all over again, gritty Casino Royale reboot?
Possibly, I mean, Fast X Part Two or whatever it ends up being could just do a Last Jedi, where it like follows up The Force Awakens and then just chucks it over its shoulder. It's like, meh. I'm going to do my own thing now. That's exactly what they could do.
And in the unless Fast 11 does nuclear amounts of money, when we do finally get to the inevitable Fast and Furious 12 film, one last question: is Vin Diesel going to be in it?
I think that if he could be in it, he would be. I think they'll have to physically, like
He'll
I
be in
said,
the
like,
back. He'll be behind your plant there, just like waving, just to try and
he'd
get
write
in.
himself in as an M character, or do you know what I mean? Like a mentor
D.
character, an Obi-Wan
Yeah.
Kenobi or something. So I think unless Universal are very firmly like, we're closing the door now, Vin, thank you for your service. Um, I think he'll always be in it somehow, just because I think he feels like it's his baby, perhaps not wrongly, that this is his. But is that necessarily right for everyone's sanity in trying to continue the franchise? I don't know.
Well, we should go off and have a barbecue now.